Welcome along to the first Lorna Páirce of February. It's Gerald McCarthy here till 7 o'clock, and hope you're all keeping safe and well. Two big interviews coming up on the show. Former Waterford manager Gerald McCarthy will look back at his time in charge of the Daysha, and Abbeyside fitness instructor Mark McConnell will chat about his 24-hour hike to raise awareness for mental health. Well, Waterford were back in the big time in 1998 when they reached a National League final, a Munster final and an All-Ireland semi-final. Five-time All-Ireland winner with Cork, Gerald McCarthy, was on the sideline with the Daysha that season, and delighted to say that Gerald joins me on the line now. And Gerald, it's hard to believe it's nearly 25 years ago since he took charge of Waterford. Can you bring us back to the very start? How did it all come about?
My God, it is. It's certainly hard to flying by that time. How it all came about, I suppose it started with Paddy Joe Ryan. He was chairman, and he came up to Cork there one day to me, and I came into the shop and asked me would I be interested in getting involved with Waterford, and I told him I was kind of really pretty busy with the Bars Club and my own internal hurling and stuff, and but he asked me to think about it, and he came back up a week later, and I started to think about it in the meantime, and to be quite honest, I was always a great admirer of Waterford hurling, going back to the Philly Grimes, Seamus Poore, Tom Cheesty, Frankie Walsh in that era. They were fabulous hurlers, and certainly I always believed that they could be doing better, and I said, look, if I can help, I will. So I agreed to get involved when Paddy Joe came back to Cork the following week. That's how it all began, really, Thomas.
Paddy Joe Ryan was very persuasive, Gerald.
He's pretty persuasive, all right, he is. But what comes across with him too is his passion for the whole thing, It wasn't just a cold kind of an approach and feeling me out, He certainly... He brought with him that little bit of drive, and that he really felt that there was good potential. Obviously there was when they won an All-Ireland under 21 just a few years previously. So obviously the potential was there, and he knew it, and he got that across to me too.
And Gerald, you really kind of raised the standards in terms of fitness levels with the Waterford team. I suppose Clare had set the bar back in 1995, and you brought in Shane Ahern as team trainer, and I suppose there's a few war stories going around of the sprints in Dungarvan and running up the sand dunes in Tramore. Can you give us a sense of what you put the players through during the winter of 97?
That's right. Pretty early on, after a couple of weeks, I kind of knew that they weren't in the best of shape fitness-wise at that stage anyway. But I did feel that... we had a few training sessions and they weren't too well attended. They were, hit and miss, and that was the kind of attitude for maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks of training. So to be quite honest, I called the players together to a meeting. I asked even, I think Ballygunner were the club champions that year, and they had Munster Championship coming up, and that was understandable. But at the same time, I felt that, if I were going to continue, I would be looking for a better commitment from the players to attend training and so on, And I stayed on, and it did improve. And that was the key to it, really. I think they committed themselves, because the potential was there. There's some fabulous hurlers in the whole team. And... certainly the fitness levels needed badly to be brought up, and we concentrated on that. And Shiner was certainly, he used to gloat in it, I think, really driving them up and down sand hills and everything in Tramore. But in all honesty, they gave an absolute 100% commitment, and their fitness levels rose, and we had a tremendous National League campaign, and everything started to rise in from that,
And part of the programme as well, Gerald, was the Nutrin diet, which I suppose might send shivers down the spines of some of the players that were involved in that panel. Everybody had a list of the foods that they could and they couldn't have. Why did you decide to introduce that?
Right. That's right. Well, funny enough, I had done it myself, and I found it very good for general well-being, And certainly some of the players needed it too, their diet and everything. They weren't very particular about it, to be quite honest. And it was something that gripped their imagination too. We got a great response to that. And that proved a great part of it, really. But like you say, fellows were wondering about what's this neutron thing like, and what's it all about. They weren't long finding out, and it did him very, very, very good.
Yeah, I think Sean Cullinan spoke very highly of it. Gerald, he got a real benefit out of it. But looking at that league campaign in 1998, I suppose the league semi-final against Limerick was when Waterford really kind of arrived on the national stage. Micheál White got that late goal. What do you remember about that occasion in Semple Stadium?
That's right. It was a great day, really, overall. As you said, Micheál got the key score that day, and he played very well, very elusive, and great burst of speed. And, players took great confidence out of that. I think that was the one main thing that we gained there, and setting ourselves up for National League finals and so on. It was great for their confidence, and they were really committed now at this stage to drive on as hard as they could.
Yeah, and you took great confidence then into the Munster Championship, Gerald, and you took down Tipperary, who were in the All-Ireland final the previous year. Was that probably the biggest win you had in your time at Waterford?
That was a great win, yeah. That was played in Cork, I think, wasn't it?
That's right.
That was a great win. I mean, these were huge challenges to the team, and they looked at it that way, because for too long they felt like they'd play a good game, maybe push the bus out for about 75 minutes of the game, maybe, or, but in the end that they would lose, and, that was the feeling that we had to certainly dispel and get rid of, and these games now were certainly proving that, when we were beating some of the best teams really in the country. I think one of the really great wins that year was perhaps against Galway in the All-Ireland quarter-final. That was a tremendous win, because Galway started out as favourites for the All-Ireland Championship that year, and we certainly surprised them.
You certainly did, Gerald, and I think you surprised Clare a little bit in the Munster final as well.
The Munster final.
and like you really
forgotten Munster final on the replay. Absolutely, there were tremendous games. Absolutely full commitment, and we had a great chance in the first game. We got a last-minute free in the half-back line, and normally Tony Brown would be taking the free from there, but it was time was up, and it was such a golden opportunity, if you like, that we got Paul Flynn to come out and take it, and he hit it magnificently, and it looked over the bar for a long, long way, and then it just drifted outside the post wide, and the game was over. It was a draw, and it set up the famous replay course.
Yeah,
and
there was I suppose, in those
story altogether.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I suppose that day, Gerald, there was kind of a battle on the field and off the field as well. Like yourself and Shane Ahern got involved with a disputed point for Tony Brown. I think the late Greg Fives sang the national anthem beside the Clare selectors that day. He was a very brave man. So you weren't going to take a step back from Clare.
Well, we weren't going to be bullied by them. That was the main thing. On the line or on the field, we weren't going to be bullied for the replay. But what we did decide was we were told well in advance that we would have to sit in the dugout with the substitutes, and we duly obliged to do that. We made up our minds, look lads, we'll sit down in with the subs and we'll see what will happen. So we sat down, and of course the three ball boys from Clare stood right out on the touchline, and we stayed where we were, and eventually we got the referee's attention to it, and he came right over and he told them they'd have to get back in and sit down. And not alone that, but one of them actually took 2 steps towards him and stood his ground and stuck his chest out. He wasn't going anywhere, So we upped in from there where we were sitting, and we went out on the touchline, and I think the referee decided the best thing to do here was throwing the ball quick. And there was some scattering of hurleys and pulling as the ball was thrown in. If you remember that, Tomas?
Absolutely, yeah.
The players, the match was delayed for a couple of minutes because of the referee trying to get control on the sideline. And the players were bumping each other for that 2 minutes and warming up. And when the ball was thrown in, all hell broke loose, yeah.
Yeah, it sure did. Like people remember Colin Lynch was subsequently suspended for 3 months. Brian Lohan and Micheál White were sent off early on. Like was there kind of a poisonous atmosphere in the air, Gerald, that day compared to the drawn game?
Absolutely, it was really. It was a blatant attempt to bully us, and we knew that could happen. They were well used to winning major games at this stage, and they were, certainly motoring very well. And it was absolutely fantastic out of all lads to push them so well and so hard in both those games. It was brilliant actually, and it gave them great confidence. And we were very, very happy going into the All-Ireland series after that.
Yeah, like you regrouped very quickly, Gerald, because you only had a week to prepare for the
we only had a week.
Park.
That's right, Tomas. Which is it's very tough on players, They give so much and they train so hard, and to be asked to play 2 major games like that in 2 weeks was certainly in 3 weeks, really, almost. It was very, very tough, all right, but in the game against Kilkenny, we were well in control of the game until Kilkenny typically got a 21-yard free, and it was rather mishit. The ball wouldn't hit very well, and it was saved and scrambled around the square, but they got it into the net for a goal. That was a vital goal for them, really. That was the one really that set us back that day. But we had, if you remember, Tomas, right up to the end of that game, we surged back into it, and we put an onslaught on the goal, the Kilkenny goal, and hoping to get a goal, and we just couldn't get it near the end, and unfortunately lost out.
Yeah, like Gerald, you were in the stand for that Kilkenny game as a result of the fallout from the Munster final.
Right.
Did you think that had any impact on the players that day?
Well, I don't think so, but it had an impact on me,
Right.
I felt myself, that I was always onto the lads about, keep their cool and, not to do anything silly and things like that. And what I felt, it was a little harsh for me, I was suspended because of running onto the field, like I did when I asked Paul Flint to come out to take the free and so on, and that's what they suspended me for. And I think I had a word with an umpire too over a ball that was over the bar, and he waved it wide. Yeah. So, yeah, I was disappointed myself that my own discipline left me down. And, like in fairness, Shiner, that day he was doing, obviously making all the changes on the field and everything, and he did brilliantly. Yeah, Shiner was an absolute gem to have on your side. He had a great way with him, great way with the players, and you had, of course, you mentioned the late Greg, who was a great character altogether, and we John Galvin, another Waterford great. Certainly we had Mossy Walsh, who was involved with us, another great midfielder for Waterford for many years, and everybody gave what they could, and that was really the big disappointment that day against Kilkenny, to be beaten. Yeah,
just by a single point in the end, Gerald. But I'm sure
that's right.
Listeners will have very fond memories of that summer and the adventure you went on. And I suppose 3 years later, Gerald, your last game in charge was an absolute thriller against Limerick. I think you went 11 points up in the first quarter, but Limerick fought back and won by 3. And you decided to step down in the dressing room after that game. Did you feel you'd taken the team as far as you could by that stage?
That's right. I really felt like that, 3-4 years really would be the time that you do something or you don't. And I really felt that. And they did approach me the previous year. I was, as I said, thinking of standing down because I was 4 years with them then. But I reconsidered and I stayed on for the extra year. But last year, really,
And Waterford won the Munster title, Gerald, the following year under Justin McCarthy. What were your emotions on that occasion?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I was actually, we were on holidays down in Páirce in Spain. And I watched the game in Paddy's Point, as I said, down in Torrevieja, and it was absolutely unbelievable. The whole place, they weren't all Waterford people, but they were obviously delighted that Waterford won it, and so was I. I was absolutely thrilled. But it was an unusual place for me to be watching it, and it was great to see Justin involved and pulling that one off. It just bears out really, Tomas, that the team needed a change, really. It's as simple as that. And Justin came in and he worked a treat there. Yeah, did very, very well to win that Munster Championship. Absolutely.
And Gerald, you've been great with your time. Just a final question for you. I know you run a business down in Cork, Gerald McCarthy Gifts and Awards. It's been running since 1977 in Cork City. How challenging has this past year been as a business owner?
Oh, it's the hardest ever, really. Toughest, yeah. It is. We're in lockdown for this is the third one now. And it's not getting any easier, to be quite honest. It's wearing. It's, I have another division of, I do headstones, memorial stones, because that's what I served my time as all the years as a stone carver. My father was a stone carver, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather were all stone cutters. So I'm delighted my own son Gerald kept working at that for me. He's working away out there, and I have another son and daughter working with me, and I have a grandchild now also working with me. So it's a real family business, which is great when things are going well, but a little kind of awkward when they're not.
Well, I wish you and your family, Gerald, all the best now over the coming months. Former Waterford manager Gerald McCarthy, an absolute pleasure to chat to you today.
Thank you, Tomas. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
First time pulled by Brian Green. First time in the air. Brilliant play by Ken McGrath to Dan Shanahan. Sends it in low towards Anthony Kerwin. Oh, lovely spell. Here's a chance. Michael White. What a goal. One of the most skillful pieces of action I've ever seen in Central Stadium. What about that? What a beautiful piece of action by Michael White. But it's all over. Waterford have beaten the champions. In a wonderful day for Waterford hurling. Gerald McCarthy is congratulated by all. Peter Queally knows that today is Waterford's day. But what a way to win a league semi-final. Gerald McCarthy has brought these boys from the doldrums of Division 2 to the league final of 1998. This is the full-time score. The champions are beaten. Waterford 2-17, Limerick 2-11.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomas McCarthy on WLR.